everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for my September Diversity and Reading Stats game. I know, I still haven't thought of what to call this game, and it's already October, but we're just going to go with it anyway. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, every single month I play a game, and the game is basically designed to keep track of some of the goals that I have around my reading, particularly regards to diversifying my reading. Two of the most important aspects that I'm keeping track of are LGBTQIA+ rep and BIPOC authors. So those are the two most important, and they have their own extra thing whereby if I don't read you know what? I'm just going to show you the board. That will help. So this is the board, and these are all the things that I'm trying to keep track of. So it's diversifying my reading from a representation in the books kind of way, but also some of the formats and styles that I read as well. So this is what I was talking about where I said that LGBTQIA+ and BIPOC have their own extra component. So over here we have the smiley face columns. Anytime I read a book that has something over here that is said in that column in it or is somehow related to it, I get a line, and every time I get 3 lines I get to give myself a magnet down the bottom. Now over here on the other hand, every single month I have to read a book that is written, at least one book written by a Black, Indigenous or person of colour author, and I have to read a book that has LGBTQIA+ rep in it. If I don't read a book that covers, the same book can cover both or separate books, then I have to put a line for that month under this one, and this is the unhappy, and if I get any lines over here then I have to take a magnet away from myself. I'm just going to pop the board up here. How well can you see that? I might just, there we go, I'll move you slightly so you can see the board a bit better. And then in this is where the magnets are, but I also have a bunch of different slips of paper that have different prizes that I can get. Once this is all filled up, I can pull out a piece of paper and I get to do whatever it is on the piece of paper. So that is how this works. Yeah, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through my reading journal for the month of September, figure out what thing needs what line, and then we'll go from there. I have had quite a few different people comment on various videos telling me helpful things about different books that I've talked about and saying, hey, maybe this actually does have that in it and stuff like that. So thank you to those people who've commented. So last month, one of the sections here is buzzword. Really haven't been getting many lines for buzzword, but Paige did comment on my last month's game to say that the turn of the key should get me a line in buzzword because key is an item. So buzzword last month was item. In August was item. I'll give myself a line there, which actually means that I have 3 lines in buzzword. The yellow is just so I know that I've already given myself a magnet for those 3. So I get to have a magnet there. So if you notice anything in this month that I should include but don't, please let me know and I will add it next time. All right, the books. First book is Postmortem by Patricia Cornwall. So Patricia Cornwall is not a BIPOC author. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep in the book, no neurodiverse rep in there, no health. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It's not been translated. It's not a comic. I didn't read it audibly. It's not a short story or written in verse. It wasn't out of my comfort zone. It didn't have a buzzword. Finish TBR, I do at the end. So, nothing for Postmortem. Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. I don't think I'm going to get anything for that either. He is not a BIPOC author. There was no LGBTQIA+ rep. Don't think there's neurodiversity in there. Nothing I would say to do with mental health or physical health for that matter. It is actually both. He's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It hasn't been translated. It isn't a comic. I didn't read it audibly. Not a short story or written in verse. Can I technically say it is out of my comfort zone? I don't read a lot of science fiction. I'm starting to read more of it, but I do think it's a bit out of my comfort zone. I tend not to go towards science fiction, and in fact, I enjoy it when I read it, but no, I definitely don't. But I didn't feel uncomfortable reading it. No, I probably can't say it then. I didn't really feel uncomfortable reading it. So we'll say no for that. No buzzword. Finished TBR, the end. Okay. The next book is Dear Mrs. Bird by AJ Pearce. AJ Pearce is not a BIPOC author. There was no LGBTQIA+ rep. Neurodiversity, no. Mental, physical health. I think that it does actually deal with both mental and physical health, because one of the main characters' friends dies and one gets really badly injured, and we talk about how she is affected by that. So yes, I do think it does have mental health discussion in there. That's 3 lines for that. So that is another magnet. We're getting close. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It hasn't been translated. I mean, into English. It may very well have been translated into other languages, but I did not read a translated version. It is not a comic. I did not read it audibly. It's not a short story or written verse. It was not out of my comfort zone. Historical fiction I read quite frequently. No buzzword on there. Next up is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. So straight away I know she's not a BIPOC author. There was no LGBTQIA+ rep in there. No neurodiverse. No, I don't think health or any sort of health. Not an Australian Aboriginal author. It wasn't translated. I didn't read it translated. Wasn't a comic. Didn't read it audibly. Not a short story or written in verse. Not out of my comfort zone. Nothing to do with buzzword. We're not doing very well. Well, okay. We got one. We got health, but haven't got the top 2 yet. Fingers crossed. The Whisper Man by Alex North. He is not a BIPOC author. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep in there. No neurodiverse rep. I don't think really it talks about mental or physical health. He's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It's not translated. Not a comic. Graphic novel. I didn't read it audibly. It's not a short story or written in verse. It wasn't out of my comfort zone. Nothing to do with buzzword. That one didn't get me anything. Alright, next up we have Amari and the Great Game. So, B.B. Austin is a black man, so I get a line for BIPOC author, which, just kicking things around, which gives me 3 lines. And that means I'm running low on magnets, that I get another magnet. There was no LGBTQIA+ rep, however. Not neurodiverse. No physical or mental health rep. He's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It wasn't translated. It's not a comic. I didn't read it audibly. Not a short story or written in verse. Wasn't out of my comfort zone. Nothing to do with buzzword. But at least we did get BIPOC. So that means I don't have to worry about a liner for that over here. Next up we have Fire by Kristen Cashore. Kristen Cashore is not a BIPOC author. I'm going to say there was LGBTQIA+ rep in there. It's not active on page, but we talk about the fact that Fire had a relationship with a woman in the past, and there's references to people having relationship with members of the same gender, sex as them. So I'm going to say that it is LGBTQIA+ rep, so I get a line there, which thank goodness means that I don't have to worry about that. There was no neurodiverse rep. I don't think it really talks about mental or physical health. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It wasn't translated. It's not a comic. I didn't read it audibly. Not a short story or written in verse. Not out of my comfort zone. But this month's buzzword is lightness and dark, or anything relating to lightness and dark. So I'm going to say fire relates to light because it causes light. So that's a line for buzzword. I have one more book, and that is Galatea by Madeline Miller, which is not written by a BIPOC author. There is no LGBTQIA+ rep, nothing neurodiverse. Mental and physical health. I would say no. She's not an Australian Aboriginal author. It wasn't translated. It's not a comic. I didn't listen to it, but it is a short story. So that's a line there. It is not out of my comfort zone. Short stories are a little bit out of my comfort zone. So I was a little bit nervous about it because I'm going to give it to myself. Which means I get another magnet. I only have these big magnets left. We'll have to do a bit of rearranging. Bear with. Look at that. I'm only going to be able to fit one more of those magnets in there, which means next month I might be able to get a prize. Woohoo! Which is very exciting. So that is therefore the end of the video. Please comment below and let me know what you think of this game. If you have any suggestions for what I should call it, let me know. Is there anything that you're in particular keeping track of with your reading? Have you read anything that would fit in with any of these? Or any other comments that you'd like to make, please do so down below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me some kind of smiley face, because we're nearly full with the smiley face. The thing down here is nearly full of magnets. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.